In this video, we'll implement the last few project settings into our video settings menu. Pixel light count, anisotropic texture, soft particles, real-time reflection probes, billboards facing camera positions, skin weights, LOD bias, and particle raycast budget. To the untrained ear, these mean absolutely nothing. Most users are only familiar with common settings that are easier to understand, such as texture quality, shadow quality, and maybe even anti-aliasing and vertical syncing. However, these other graphical settings are rather unique and require some background knowledge to understand the controls. As such, we'll be looking to control all of these advanced settings and finalize our video settings. Before we start, we'll make a drop-down prefab. In the past few videos, we duplicated pre-existing drop-downs in our settings prefab, but this is not recommended. Say we want to change the background image of all of our drop-downs. It would be very tedious to search through all the existing drop-downs and change each of them individually. With prefabs, we can apply a change to the base prefab and affect all other variants connected to this prefab at the same time. Therefore, we'll drag and drop one of the drop-downs into the project. Make it as generic as possible. In other words, default the labels and drop-down names to refer to nothing specific. Replace each of the old drop-downs with this prefab and change them to match their intended functions. We'll also do this for the slider and toggles. Again, drag and drop them into the project and make them generic. Replace the old slider and toggles with the new prefab and label them appropriately. Reassign each drop-down, slider, and toggle under the settings script. Make sure the dropdown for the preset game object has the disabled dropdown script as a component under the items game object. We'll then create two new texts to separate the settings between general and advanced. Simply create a game object and add a text under it. Customize it to your liking. We'll also add a line break to separate the two settings. Create a line using an image editor with a transparent background, add it as a raw image, and stretch it to however big you want. Stretch the content to encapsulate all the settings and test it. There should be no problems and it should work exactly as it did before. Now, let's start with pixel light count. In forward rendering, some number of brightest lights that affect each object are rendered in fully per pixel lit mode. With pixel light count, we can control how many of these lights are rendered in per pixel light mode before it falls off to vertex lighting and spherical harmonics lighting. The higher the pixel light count, the more per pixel lit mode lights will be rendered, and therefore the more performance heavy your lights will be. Let's make another dropdown. Add in the new prefab and change it to be related to lighting. We'll call it pixel light count. Ensure the content transform encapsulates this new dropdown and change the options to be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Before we go further into lighting, make another function called setToCustom to control the dropdown change when changing an individual setting. Replace the two lines in each of the functions that are affected by calling this new function. Also, under our load settings function within the else statement, we do not access the preset function to change the quality level to custom, so we just need to set the preset to 5 before changing each quality. After that, there's nothing really new here. Inside settings, create a dropdown for lighting and add an onValue changed event to the dropdown that calls pixel light count. Inside pixel light count, if the user individually changed the setting, we will set the preset dropdown to custom and change pixel light count depending on the dropdown they chose. Silently change the dropdown to the correct index and assign the lighting variable under our scriptable object. Under SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, add the pixel light count variable and assign appropriately. Under change dropdowns, call this function under each condition. Lastly, add this function call under load settings. In the editor, add the dropdown to the settings script and change the default value inside our scriptable object. Although since the default preset is set to 2, it will not matter. Now test. You won't visually see the changes in the current environment, but make sure the project settings are properly changing. You can test to see how this option affects lighting by creating various point lights and changing the pixel light count. With that, we're done with pixel light count. Now onto anisotropic textures. When viewing textures at very extreme angles, you may notice that the farther textures are a bit blurry. Anisotropic filtering eliminates this aliasing effect and preserves their detail at the cost of performance. We'll add another dropdown. Ensure you change the text and the game objects to say Anisotropic Textures. This time, ensure the options displays forced on, per texture, and disabled. Ensure the content height encapsulates this new dropdown within the content size. Inside the settings script, add an anisotropic texture variable and add an onValue changed event that calls anisotropic texture. If it's changed manually, we'll set the preset to custom and set the anisotropic filtering to one of the enums available, depending on what the user chose. We'll then set the dropdown to match the index chosen and assign the index to our variable inside the scriptable object. In SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, add the new variable. Inside change dropdowns, add the new function under each condition with their appropriate parameters and add the function called to load settings. In the editor, add the dropdown to the settings script and change the default value inside our scriptable object if you use the custom preset. Now test. It may be hard to notice, but you'll see farther textures are now much sharper with anisotropic texture on rather than off. With that, we're done with anisotropic textures. Moving on to soft particles. With soft particles enabled, we can fade out particles when intersecting other geometry within our scene. It looks a lot better, but it can be a bit more performance heavy. In any case, let's control this toggle. Add the toggle prefab to the settings prefab and rename it for soft particles. Ensure the content height encapsulates the new toggle within the content size. Inside the settings script, we'll do the same process as how we did vertical sync. Create a toggle variable for soft particles and add an onValue changed event calling the toggle function. If we manually set the toggle, we will set the preset dropdown to custom and access quality settings to turn soft particles on or off. Set the dropdown without notify and save the boolean to our soft particle variable. In SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, add the soft particle variable to save. Add the function to change dropdowns with the appropriate boolean settings. Finally, add it to load settings. In the editor, add the toggle to the settings script and change the default value of the scriptable object if you're using a custom preset. Now test. Ensure that the soft particle checkbox matches the toggle. Try using presets and ensure that the soft particle is changing accordingly. With that, soft particle is finished. Next is real-time reflection probes. Reflection probes are a whole other topic, but the main thing you need to know is that rendering the cube map of a reflection probe takes extensive processor time. In order for reflections to properly adjust to dynamically changing things in our scene, we would need to enable real-time reflection probes. As a result, constantly updating and rendering new cube maps for a reflection probe would accurately reflect the environmental changes, but at the cost of performance. We'll control this with a toggle. Add the toggle prefab and rename it to relate to reflection probes. Ensure you rename the toggle and change the label text. In settings, create a toggle variable and add an onValue changed event calling real-time reflection. If we are manually changing this, we will set preset to show custom and access quality setting to turn real-time reflection on or off. Set the dropdown and store the checkbox state inside the scriptable object. Under SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, add the real-time reflection variable. Under change dropdowns, add the new function with its appropriate conditions under each preset. Lastly, add this under load settings. In the editor, add the reflection probe toggle to the settings script and change the default value inside our scriptable object. Now test. Ensure that the checkbox is being toggled on or off correctly, either with manual changes or by preset changes. You'll notice that any reflection probes that are set to act in real time are now overridden by this project setting, and they will act as if they were baked instead. With that, real-time reflection is complete. Onto the Billboard's face camera position setting. There is surprisingly little information about this, but as far as I know, if enabled, any billboarded effects will be forced to face towards the camera position. In terms of performance, having billboards rotate properly towards the camera will be more expensive to render. We'll control the setting using a toggle. Inside the settings prefab, add the toggle prefab and adjust it to be related to billboards. Encapsulate the content to include the new toggle. In the settings script, add a toggle variable and add an onValue changed event to the toggle calling billboard. Inside billboard, we'll check if we change the setting manually. If yes, then we will set the preset dropdown to custom, and we'll set the billboard settings to correspond with the passed-in checkbox. We'll then set the toggle state to match the passed-in boolean and save this to our scriptable object. Ensure SO settings, settings file, and load settings file have a billboard boolean variable to be saved. Add this function under each condition inside change dropdowns, and finally, add this function to load settings. Back in the editor, attach the new toggle and set the default value if needed. Now test. You should see the Billboards face camera position option changing appropriately when choosing a preset or when changing it manually. Ensure the scriptable object is correct. With that, we can move on to the next setting. Now it's time to tackle skin weights. Skin weights are a whole different topic, but the important thing that you should know is that the more bones affecting a vertex, the more taxing it is to the system. We can choose between 1, 2, 4, or unlimited bones that will affect a given vertex for all skinned meshes in the project. With that said, let's control this setting. Inside the settings prefab, add in the drop-down prefab and rename it to be related to skin weights. We will also add the following options: 1 bone, 2 bones, 4 bones, and unlimited. Remember to encapsulate the skin weight dropdown within the content transform. In settings, it's the exact same method that we used before. Make the dropdown variable and add an onValue changed event called skin weights. In the function, if they change skin weights manually, set the preset to custom, and set the skin weight to the corresponding enum. Call the dropdown change, and then save the dropdown value to the scriptable object. Access SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, and save the skin weight dropdown value. Call the function inside change dropdowns under each condition with the appropriate parameters. Finally, add the function to load settings. In the settings component, assign the dropdown and change the settings default values if necessary. Now test. It's very much the same as usual. Test to see if the project setting changes correctly and test to see if it's saved properly too. Now onto the LOD bias setting. LOD levels are chosen based on the on-screen size of an object or the amount of vertical space the game object takes up in the camera view. When between two LOD levels, the choice can be biased towards the more detailed model or the less detailed model. Bias values between 0 and 1 will favor the less detailed model, while bias values greater than 1 favor the more detailed model. Larger values lead to longer view distances needed before a lower resolution LOD is picked. Let's add this setting to our menu. Add in another dropdown prefab and resize the content transform to encapsulate this dropdown. Rename the children and components to relate to LOD bias. Under the options, we will add the following: 0.3, 0.7, 1, 1.5, and 2. Again, it's the same process. Inside settings, make a dropdown variable and add an onValue changed event calling LOD bias. In this function, if they change the dropdown manually, we'll set the preset dropdown to custom and set the LOD bias to the appropriate value. We'll set the dropdown to the given index and save it to the scriptable object. Access SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, and save the LOD bias dropdown value. Inside change dropdowns, call this function under each condition with their appropriate parameter. Finally, add this to the load settings function. In the settings component, assign the dropdown and in the default settings scriptable object, assign the LOD bias if necessary. Now test to see if LOD bias properly changes in the project settings. Ensure that it properly saves the setting and the dropdown properly reflects the correct value. With that, we can move on to the final advanced setting. Now, the last video setting we will be controlling is the particle raycast budget. This setting controls the max number of raycasts used to approximate particle collision. The higher the number, the more costly it will be on the computer's performance, but the collisions will be more accurate. We'll create another dropdown, resize the content to encapsulate this dropdown, and rename all its components to be related to particle raycast budget. The options will be as follows: 4, 64, 256, 1024, and 4096. In settings, repeat the process. Make the dropdown variable, add an onValue changed event calling a new function, and in this function, if they changed it manually, set the dropdown to custom and set the particle raycast budget to the appropriate value. Call the dropdown change, then save the dropdown index to the scriptable object. Access SO settings, settings file, and load settings file, and save the particle raycast budget dropdown value. Call the function under each condition inside change dropdowns with their appropriate parameters. Finally, add the function call to load settings. In the editor, assign the dropdown to the settings script. Now test. Ensure the setting is changing the project settings correctly. Be sure that the saving works correctly too. With that, we are done with particle raycast budget. There are a few things that we did not control. This includes texture streaming, resolution scaling fixed DPI factor, async upload time slice, async upload buffer size, and async upload persistent buffer. This is mainly because by default, they are the same values for each preset. If you want to have control over these values, you should have all the tools to control these yourself. You may now test this in build. It should act the same as the editor. Make sure the preset changes the dropdowns appropriately. Ensure the changes are visible in the environment and everything is saved properly. Test changing each of these dropdowns individually. Do these save correctly? With that, we are now done with the video settings. Well, I hope you liked this video. For now, we are done with our video settings. We'll later implement the left side page that will define each of the setting options. In the next video, we'll be tackling game settings, such as mouse sensitivity, mouse inversion, and key bindings. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.